Hey guys, it's me again, Orchlayer. What ifs? Where we last left off? Let's see. Checking. So where we last left off, they went through the heroes versus villains thing, and Deku actually lost. Surprise. Then after that, they went to lunch. Yeah, they went to lunch, talked a bit. Deku pretty much told everyone to calm down while they were in the halls. Then they went to the USJ, which Deku and Bakugo dominated at, since, they're both, if they were compared to All Might, both of them are Deku's already surpassed All Might, while Bakugo's developing new techniques and such. And our explosions have pretty much already gotten to a good portion of almost being like fully mastered. They fought 4 normal Nomus, I believe, and 1 high-end one. And before Shigaraki could literally get torn limb from because of Deku, Kurogiri's like, alright, peace, as he just poofed out there. As when the heroes all arrived, all they saw were a majority of students lined up right there on like the giant steps, where they see buildings have collapsed, forests have been burned or torn apart, the the little lake has been like depleted a good portion, and like there's just a pile of villains in the center with a bunch of weird creatures. As the normal Nomu, like, they're just puppets, while the high-end one is the only, what's the word? Sentient, you could say. As, yeah, how Deku destroyed that thing is that, if you remember, he pretty much grabbed hold of it, and Bakugo let loose the biggest explosion she got. So, yeah. So, if that... we skip forward. As they're in class just waiting, it's like, so got another thing coming up, as everyone does like, oh my god, was it now? Sports festival, as it's like, heck yeah. As it's like, the sports festival will be held in 2 weeks. As UA's reputation is still pretty good, considering like no one was hurt aside from villains, so everyone's pretty cool with that. So if Deku and them, what he essentially does is just hang out. He just like waits around, hanging out with Bakugo, Momo, and all of them. Like, everyone else is training hard, and Bakugo is still developing new techniques. While with Deku, well, he still is trying to push like past, like, to get more percentage of the Hanma quirk without having a serious situation needing to come up. And he slowly has actually pushed it in that, like, week. He's been able to push it to 58%. Yes, it is a very, very slow progress. And, like, the only way to really get stronger is fighting amazingly much stronger opponents. And he can't do that with anyone except Yujiro. So at the moment, he has to make do with wearing thousands of pounds upon his body and pushing himself to the absolute limit, as he does fight with All Might. But the only ways he can really fight All Might on an equal, quote-unquote, footing is that if Deku wears like the full bodysuit lined with the heavy weights. As he's much slower... yeah, just pretty much it, much slower and such, as he has to like trying to get faster and everything, as well as he can't hit as hard since a lot of his body's trying to keep himself from falling to the ground. So with that being said, eventually rolls around the sports festival, as it was like trying to decide between Bakugo or Deku who should do it. And in a VIP section behind a glass room, there's someone sitting there with a bottle of wine just waiting. 2 men, actually. One's with a bottle of wine, the other's with well, just sitting there. And the other guy's also eating a steak. So, it's like, you sure your kid's in here, ogre? Of course I am. And she's like, oh well, let's see how he does. As with that, and eventually Deku gives a speech. I don't know what speech to give. Yeah, I can't think of one actually. Oh, nothing. So he gives a speech, and they move on. As with that, it's like, get ready, go! As Deku and Bakugo both stood at the back, essentially what Bakugo did is that Deku's like, hey, you ready? As he like helps her out. As when she uses explosion, she goes flying right over everyone. Then Deku's like, alright. As he jumps, he pretty much just jumps from the wall to the wall, just like do, like a ping pong ball. As they both like start rushing off, as Bakugo uses her massive explosions, as she blasts herself forward, leagues ahead of everyone, with Deku pretty much right on her tail. As Bakugo has gotten more aware, as they're going like past everything, everyone's like, there is the first obstacle, robots, as it's just like all the 0-pointers are down. And then it's like, release more, as they're just pressing a button to release more. And then it's like, now the minefield, as it's just like a zip across the minefield, it's just... And they jumped over the gorge, there's nothing else, as it's just like, they were too fast so no one could tell, so they just call it a tie. So, it's like, Deku's like, felt good. So, then everyone else eventually makes it up, as it's like, they split the million points. I think it was 1 million, 1 million points. So they split between Deku and Bakugo, so there's a 500,000 points and another 500,000 points. As Bakugo and Deku sort of like, they still do the whole splitting up part. Where it's like Momo still partners up with Todoroki and such. And the other students are trying to like get to Deku and Bakugo's thing. So Bakugo still gets her team that's in the original, which is Kirishima, Sero, and Mina. Todoroki still gets Kaminari, Ida, and Momo. I think I already said Momo, but whatever. Then Deku gets Uraraka, Mei, and Dark Shadow on a whim. As with him being so much taller than the rest of them, he's like, this is awkward. As he's like, as he's like in the back, essentially, like he's the front horse or something. I think he was on top, but he can't really be on top because no one else can lift him. He is very heavy. So as they put Dark Shadow on top, as Deku can keep people away with his like little finger blast. As he's like, alright, move it. As they're moving, Dark Shadow on the top is able to like keep him covered, with Deku doing his finger blast in the back, as they do fly around every now and then. They do use those little tools. As eventually they are able to outlast, but it's like the very same category of people still get in. Like, who all gets in the original. So first is Deku versus Shinso. As then Shinso starts, like, when it comes to the whole fighting Shinso part, Deku is still, like, put against him. As it's like, as Shinso still does the whole, the whole trash talking of Ojiro, I believe. So as he starts going to trash talk Ojiro, Deku's like, just goes like a, As I'm pretty sure that's counted as a response, and it's like if you respond to him whatsoever, like any verbal response, he will be able to take over you. As Deku does the whole, as he was getting closer, as he goes like, and then just sort of stood up completely. As when Deku's walking away, he's like, no, come on, you can do this. As he's trying to regain control. As then, before him, he sees someone who looks like Yujiro, but bigger. Like, bigger. As he's like, ooh. As then, the guy sort of does like a flicking, as Deku's head goes back like, goosh. Like he was shot with a gun. As Yujiro even saw this. No one else. As Deku's like, huh? As he's like, as Yuichiro, which is Yujiro's father, Yuichiro says, go knock him out. Simple. Don't talk to him again, alright, Deku? As that is a thing that happens, yes. Deku's like, ugh. And if you may ask why was he able to do this, it's because I figured that the Hanma blood is so strong even in death, they can't be kept down. So what happens is Deku like shakes his head as he's like, as he walks over the Shinso and pretty much bends down to his eye level, letting off a nice little warm smile as he just gets his finger and flicks him off. As Shinso's like, ow. As Shinso is probably broken a bow or something. As he was like still told, everyone likes you. As Deku walks away. As with that, the other guy's like, your son is quite something, Oga. As Yujiro's like still quiet and also looks very angry as he's like, whoa, what's wrong, Oga? As Yujiro's like, And the ogre stands up, sort of looking really angry, even more so than when he was sitting down. As the guy's like, careful, ogre. We don't want to cause a scene here. As Yujiro sits back down. After unleashing his like little aura when he uses the quirk, the guy's like, oh, that was close. As he asks for another steak, as they bring back a boatload and another thing of wine. So he's like, what is up with you, Olivia? As yes, it's Biscuit Olivia, if you guys couldn't tell by the steak and wine. So, with that, what's happening is that Ogre wanted to go look at, like, see how Deku was. Because he guessed, like, wherever Deku was going to go, it's going to be somewhere where there's people who could fight him. Oh, sorry. And that Olivia goes and watches the UA Sports Festival every year. He is the Unchained. As he's allowed to do whatever the heck he wants. So, with that being said, Deku and such is set up for the second round. As everything else plays out as it does. I believe... Who does Bakugo? Bakugo goes up against Uraraka in the first round. So, she kind of likes Uraraka. So, Bakugo brings down the whole explosions and such. So, she isn't blasting full blown. She really can't unless she wants half the stadium to be fried. So she keeps it to a low. So with that being said, Deku versus Todoroki. As Deku was still approached by Todoroki going like... Well, not Todoroki, but Endeavor. Going like, you are similar to that of All Might and such. As he's like, don't go easy on him. As Deku's like... My quirk is my own, not All Might's. And from what I can tell, Todoroki isn't you because he has an ice quirk, so suck it. As Deku understands a father wanting his son to be strong in order to do something that he couldn't, but he also understands that it's different for every kid. Like, he doesn't like what Yujiro did to Baki's mom. But what is he gonna do? Go fight Yujiro? She's already dead. What would that do? Avenger? And plus, if he went ahead and defeated Yujiro, there'd be nothing left for Baki to do. Like, Deku's fine. If he wants to, he really wants to fulfill Yujiro's wish. But he understands that Baki needs some form of closure, and he thinks defeating Yujiro first would actually help with that. So yeah, there's a lot going on in Deku's head when it comes to that whole topic. As Deku leaves, pretty much without saying a word, well, after saying those words and then just leaving, Todoroki does the whole, I won't use my ice quirk. As he did declare war on Deku and Bakugo both this time. So Deku's like, as Todoroki goes unleashing the ice barrage, Olivia's like, oh, that kid's strong, as Yujiro just looks bored as Deku just flicks the ice away with one of his fingers. As Todoroki's like, dang it. As Deku has toned down the power output as to not hurt him. As Yujiro's saying, Deku isn't even going all out. As he's like bored, essentially. As he says, I wonder where All Might is. Or he says, maybe you should go down there unchained. As he's like, let's not get anything too far ahead of ourselves, old friend. As he says, if you think about it, I can't really fight. I can't fight him here, but I'll gladly fight him outside. As he's like, then that can be arranged. As Yujiro will talk to Deku about bringing him to a set location so he can fight Olivia. As Olivia's quirk is very similar to Luke Cage's. Skin's almost unpenetrable and all that, plus like a super strength, comparable to All Might. There's very few who can match All Might, but there are even few that even surpass him. Yujiro and Deku and such are like, at current time point, the only ones who can surpass All Might. But other people like Olivia are a match for him. As All Might was able to become #1 hero in America where Olivia lives, but Olivia and him kept on like taking that title from each other. Like, Olivia would do more and be more friendly. It's like a vice versa thing, like sort of thing, you know? They both are very similar in their laid back personality, and their quirks are also very similar. So, that being said, Olivia's like actually excited, as he himself has not received a severe blow, which is limiting him, unlike All Might. As Deku and such, starts taking apart Todoroki until he's like right there to Todoroki's arm, as he lifts Todoroki up by his arm. So as he crushes it somewhat, as he just has it firmly, he's like, you ain't gonna take this seriously. As he lifts him up, don't come in here at all. As he flings Todoroki away, Todoroki starts skidding across and almost gets out of bounds until until Todoroki like stops himself with ice. As Deku says, this is a farce. Not even coming at me with everything you have. It's not even really worth the wait, and tell you the truth. As he sits down on like some ice Todoroki had made. So he's like, either go all out or I flick you out of the ring. As Todoroki's like, he's like, it ain't your dad's quirk, you know. As Deku's like, unlike mine, you didn't receive it from your dad, you received it from genetics. As he says that mine comes from a bloodline. As he lets out like as much as he can conjure at once, as the like little stage that they have like cracks with how much he's releasing off. Like as he's letting it overflow, you could say. As just standing there is cracking that like a giant gash into the hole and such. As Yujiro's like, as he leans forward, interesting. As Todoroki starts unleashing his fire after that. Having that whole rush of memories, he does the whole, I believe it was a flash freeze or something. As there's the massive explosion with Deku punching it. As Todoroki is out of bounds. And Deku standing there with his arms crossed and his shirt severely burned. He's like, As he walks off the stage like a boss. Every other thing though, Momo still loses, unfortunately. And Bakugo still destroys Kirishima and up from there. Till it's like Bakugo Katsuki versus Izuku Midoriya. So with that, it's like as everyone in Class 1A knows what they can do. As they're like, alright, should we evacuate? As they're like, hey, could we get walls around the stadium, please? We don't want to die. As even the teacher said, what if it gets to this point? What are we doing? It's like, there's nothing really we can do unless we can teleport them to a secluded area. As it was like a little panic meeting, as it's like, oh god, it's a tournament. Those two are gonna win. What are we doing? As it's like, wait, do we know anyone with a teleportation quirk? As it's like, as they call up some random obscure hero, as it's like, yes, like, you can teleport people, yes. How far away? Several miles. Like, alright, we need you to get us out of the city. We got a place set up. You need to do it here. As it's like, alright. As they say, for this tournament, unfortunately we cannot hold it here for the final fight. But we will be showing it on the cameras. As then they're like teleported away by the hero. As they're left in the mountain ranges. As it's like, how far did we go? As the hero's like, I'm sorry, but yeah. As he like teleports back out. As there's only unmanned drones there with cameras on them just like recording it all. As Deku and Katsuki are like, well, this should be fun. As they both get into a starting position, as it's like a 3, 2, 1, go! And that's where I'm ending this one off at. Yeah, sorry about that. I want to make a bigger episode to explain how the fight will go on. But anyways, I hope you all have enjoyed this. Hope you all continue to enjoy it. And I hope you all have a nice day, nice night, nice life.